In the microhybrid systems, you might be familiar, other than Vit-l-escence, some other very popular brands such as Aesthetics and Point 4 and Gradia. And I will have to say that some of these other systems, in their efforts to continually give us new product, that I feel like sometimes they've actually compromised the situation, in that with a true microhybrid, they're so easy to blend. And when you start sneaking into the nano hybrids, you'll find that they're a little bit more difficult. I guess that would be the best word to say. Also, in the Vit-l-escence, their shade tabs, their shade guide is quite remarkable. And again, coming from a private practice standpoint, this is a tremendous benefit, in that every one of the shade tabs are made out of the Vit-l-escence composite itself. So what you put up next to the tooth, that's exactly what you're going to see in the mouth. So there's no guessing game on that. Also on the shade guide, I've arranged it so that you can see from most translucent to the most opaque. Again, in all these shades that you see here, we're primarily using Pearl Frost, Pearl Neutral, Opaque Snow, by the way, Opaque White, and Transmist. So those are our favorite shades. If you look at this image, you see one of our patients that was restored entirely with Opaque Snow. Now this was at her request. I prefer to have more translucency, more character in my restorations, but you know, this is what she desired, so I provided it for her. The Opaque Snow, it's absolutely beautiful on its own, but you can see it's lacking depth and dimension. So in order to provide that, on this patient, we've done a combination of Opaque Snow with Pearl Frost on top of it. And so when you compare those two cases, you can see the difference, and it was just a matter of adding that one enamel shade on top of the Opaque Snow. Now, obviously, these patients have bleach, so we are going into those very light shades. If your patients have not bleached, whatever dentin shade you're using, place your enamel on top of it, and it's amazing how much just that simple addition will enhance your aesthetic results. In this next image, what you see here is B1 with Pearl Frost on top of it. So again, this is a more subtle shade. We have the depth, we have the dimension. You'll also notice in these cases that we have the white line at the incisal edge, and that's called the halo, and we didn't have to do anything extra to get it. It's just that mixing of a more opaque shade or a dentin shade with a translucent shade or enamel shade, and then getting the right shine on it. And you just automatically get that natural halo that we see in unrestored teeth. In this image, you see a comparison of all three. You've got one patient up in the upper left-hand corner. She's all Opaque Snow. We did veneers from canine to canine. In the upper right, we have our patient that has Opaque Snow with Pearl Frost over it. So you see how shiny and you have more depth, even using those very light shades. And then the patient on the bottom, that's B1 with Pearl Frost over it. So again, more subtle in comparison to the two cases above it, but look how pretty that is. There's one shade that deserves its own moment of description, and that is the IRB. This is called iridescent blue, and it has the same properties as a soap bubble as it's traveling through the air. It actually has the ability to change colors depending on how the light hits it. So if you want to add that extra little bit of oomph to your restorations, put a dab of that on your incisal edges, and you'll be surprised at how just that little addition takes the level of the aesthetic outcome a few notches up. You can use that iridescent blue, by the way, for whether you want a very prominent translucency, whether you want something middle of the road, or whether you want something very subtle. It all depends on what you put behind it or on top of it, if anything at all. So very, very versatile. In this patient's mouth here, or in this case, what you see is we've done veneers on the laterals and the centrals. We were trying to balance out the prominent canines. And so in her case, we used the B1, the iridescent blue, and the Pearl Frost. It's a very subtle translucency because that's what our patient desired, but still you can see the extra detail just by adding just the tiniest little bit on the incisal edge. Also in regards to polishing, you know, we all want that beautiful polish, but I personally don't want to have to go through 10 different polishing instruments to get that beautiful shine. So what we've found is that if we kind of condense our instruments and we use one of two methods in our practice, we can get a high shine without having to go to a lot of effort. Because it doesn't matter what composite you use, if you're not getting a high shine, you're never going to be satisfied with the results. So in our practice, we use a simple finishing burr. It's called a 48L, and we'll use that to refine the anatomy and to add some microanatomy as well. And that same burr also starts the finishing or polishing process. From there, we can go immediately to a Jiffy brush. The Jiffy brush already has the polishing agent in the bristles, so it'll take your restoration to that super high shine that we're looking for. Now this method will leave texture in the tooth, and like most natural teeth, it's going to scatter the light. So we want to make sure that we check the adjacent natural teeth or unrestored teeth to see what kind of microanatomy they have, and then we want to mimic that in our restoration. So a lot of our younger patients, they're going to have little pits and defects and scratches and grooves in their anterior teeth, and we need to make sure that we leave texture or microanatomy in our restorations as well in order to make sure that they match. And then some of our older patients, they are going to have that glass-like finish. So how do we achieve that? We start out with the same finishing burr, the 48L, and then we go through 3 simple polishing instruments. They're called the Jiffy polishers. And we go from darkest to lightest. So we go green, yellow, white, and we still finish with the Jiffy brush because that's going to take it to a whole nother level. And in regards to the Jiffy brush, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find anything that's going to come close or certainly outdo it. We've tried so many different polishing methods and even polishing pastes in our office, and we seriously could not get a good comparison or a better outcome using any other instrument or polishing system. So give it a try. I think you'll really appreciate that effortless manner to get the shine on those restorations. So we're going to break and we're going to go do some hands-on, and we're going to show you how simple it is to use this. And again, just by placing one layer of an enamel shade over whatever you're using now is going to take your aesthetic results to a whole nother level.